So Thea was born in Belgrade, where she spent the first 11 years of her life before moving to Vienna, a transition that brought both opportunities and challenges. She often describes herself as born in light and raised in darkness, a phrase that reflects her journey through contrasting worlds, both external and internal. From an early age, Thea worked in a variety of roles as a waiter, model, office assistant, gardener, and gallery attendant, each offering a different perspective on people, the world, and herself. Yet, beneath these experiences, she felt a growing desire to understand her deeper identity and origins beyond professions or appearance. Her search led her to study psychology, but the rigid structure of academic learning left her sensing that something vital was still missing. It was through a close friend that Thea discovered yoga, which soon became an anchor in her life, bringing stability, connection, and clarity. Through yoga, she found a way to reconnect with herself and with the world around her. Her inward journey eventually turned outward again, guiding her toward the earth itself. Today, she is completing her studies in soil culture at the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences in Vienna, affectionately known as the University of Life. She is becoming a landscape architect, merging her sensitivity to inner spaces with a deep passion for shaping the outer environment in a conscious and harmonious way. So with this, I welcome you, and the title of our presentation is The Landscape of the Self. Thank you so much.
So thank you for this nice introduction. I would really like to speak out my gratitude for having me here, to have this opportunity of, again, learning about myself. But it never stops, right? Yeah, before I go into my personal path or my life journey, I would like to share some of the philosophical foundations that shaped my understanding of yoga. I know that many of you are deeply knowledgeable and well-read in these traditions, probably much more than I am. But this is how I came to understand it, how it touched me, how it began to change my perception of the world, my life, not only as a philosophy, not only as a, okay, it's back again, but as a living experience that keeps transforming me day by day. And yes, as I said, this study never ends, because the study of yoga is the study of oneself. Okay, so the 4 movements through our journey today, I'm going to speak at first about the seeds, so about the yoga philosophy, the origin of the awareness. Then I will lead you through the roots to my yogic path, the grounding in the practice. And then the flower, the integration, unfolding this unity through Tantra. And then a short excursion to death itself, back to the consciousness from form to the source. So, seed, the foundation of yoga. Let's start with the etymology, where this word yoga comes from. It comes from joy, from Sanskrit word. So, and if I say it sounds a little bit strange or different, please don't be so hard on me. What does it mean? So Sanskrit, joy, yoga. It means to unite, to join, to concentrate, to harmonize, to bring everything to alignment. This process of integration, it is the process of the integration and the state of union. So both the path and the goal itself. Where yoga comes from, across the time, its expressions has evolved. So in the Vedas, yoga was the discipline, tapas, that maintained Rta, the cosmic order. In the Upanishads, it became an inner realization, the union of Atman, the self, and the Brahman, the absolute. With Patanjali Yoga Sutra, yoga became the science of stillness, a method for refining consciousness. And to Tantra, it expanded again into the living awareness that pervades all body, energy, and consciousness at one. But just to be clear, like yoga is not a chapter in history. It is timeless movement of consciousness returning to itself. The dance of stillness and the motion of Shiva and Shakti. Here is the slide that belongs to what I said before. Good. So let's go to the two ground principles. I'm just going to rush through it because we heard a little bit of it before. Consciousness and energy. Yoga sees reality as the interplay of two eternal principles, consciousness and energy, known in Sanskrit as Purusha and Prakriti. Consciousness, Purusha, is the silent witness, the unchanging awareness that simply sees. It has no movement, no form, no beginning or end. Energy, on the other hand, Prakriti, is the creative power of life itself. She moves, evolves, transforms, expresses. Everything we see, feel, or think belongs to her dance. So without consciousness, energy would have no awareness, and without energy, consciousness would have no expression. Together they form the poles of existence, stillness and motion, again, Shiva and Shakti, Purusha and Prakriti, being and becoming. So all of yoga arises from this meeting, the return of movement into stillness and of stillness into movement. So let's go further to the first sparkle of life, the first movement of Prakriti, or what energy actually is. So prana comes from the syllables pra, which is the first, and an, which means to breathe. It is the vital current that animates every form. It is the bridge between consciousness and matter, flowing through nadis, which I will come a little bit later to, and chakras, energy centers. So nadis, energy channels, and chakras, energy centers. Physiologically, prana corresponds to the autonomic nervous system. The constant dialogue between activation, so the sympathetic nervous system, and the rest, parasympathetic nervous system. Through pranayama and mindful breath, we can consciously influence this rhythm. Calming rajas, lifting sattva, dissolving tamas. So each breath refines energy, clears perception, and raises our vibration. To breathe consciously is to participate in creation, in your own creation, right? So to move energy from unconscious reaction to conscious presence. Now we're going to talk about the qualities of this energy. So as I mentioned before, so tamas is this interior, the stillness. It is heaviness, or the inner expression of this is the heaviness, the confusion, but stability too. Rajas is this activity, passion, movement. Inner expressions are desire, restlessness, and emotion, and drive. Sattva is the clarity and harmony. It is light. The inner experience is peace, wisdom, and awareness. And just to be clear, all of these three are necessary. So without tamas, we could not rest. Without rajas, nothing would move. But the practice of yoga refines them, transforming tamas into stillness, rajas into devotion, until sattva, the light of clarity, naturally shines through. The movement, where this energy is flowing through. So we heard a little bit about this before, about the lunar and solar energy, but just to have this overview here too. The movement of prana in the Ida Nadi is the left channel, so it represents the lunar energy, cooling, receptive, is feminine. The element is water, it belongs to the moon, governs intuition, introspection, rest, the parasympathetic nervous system. So flow is from the left nostril, right brain. So when you feel that your left nostril is more open, then you'll feel like relaxed and calm. Qualities are calm, reflective, nurturing, and intuitive. It symbolizes the inner current of stillness and surrender. Then we go to the Pingala Nadi, the right channel, which represents the solar energy. It is heating, activate, masculine. It belongs to the fire or to the sun. It governs action, logic, vitality, it's sympathetic nervous system. And again, like the opposite side, if your right nostril is more open, then you feel like more activated and logic, or you want to do some action. The qualities are dynamic, expressive, focused, energized, and it symbolizes the inner current of movement and creation. Kundalini. So, what is this Kundalini? It is often described as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine, but it's not just energy, and it's not something outside of us. Kundalini is conscious energy, the Shakti or the intelligent power of awareness itself. She rests in the potential form, waiting for the right conditions to awake. Through practice, through breath, movement, and inner stillness, the flow of prana, our vital life force, become more and more refined and balanced. When prana enters the central channel, Sushumna, it creates the inner condition for Kundalini to rise. This rising is not an explosion. It could be, but in most of the cases it is not. It's a gradual unfolding, a natural evolution of perception. As she ascends, the different layers of our being awaken. Physical, energetic, emotional, intuitive, and finally, blissful. So Kundalini doesn't make us more powerful, she makes us more aware. So people often ask, how do I know that my Kundalini is awakened? It is not a sudden explosion, as I said, or something dramatic that happens once. It is an inner unfolding, right? Happening layer by layer, unfolding itself. At first, the body becomes more alive and sensitive. You start to feel subtle vibrations, tingling, warmth, flow. Then the perception refines. The breath slows down, the senses sharpen, the nervous system began to harmonize. Later, the mind becomes clearer. Through thoughts lose their heaviness, emotions move through more transparently, and intuition begins to guide more than analyzes. Eventually, even the sense of me as the doer begins to soften. Awareness starts to witness itself. In the language of Tantra, this is the return again from Shakti to Shiva. The inner marriage of energy and consciousness. When this union reached the Sahasrara, the crown center, the whole system recognized itself as one field, radiant, still, and awake. They call this Mahashakti, the great current of unity. So the waking is not about power, but about presence. Not about leaving the body, but about fully embodying consciousness. It is the journey of energy realizing its own source. But, as Hatha Yoga Pradipika would say, without steadiness of body and purity of the mind, the serpent burns the one who wakes her, right? So stability and clarity. Where this energy we're talking about is expressing itself, the sage describes human existence as a movement through 5 sheds, or koshas. 5 wheels that cover the radiance of pure awareness. These layers are not separate bodies, but dimensions of vibration, from the most tangible to the most subtle. outer to the inner. Yoga moves through them, refining energy, perception, and identity until consciousness recognizes itself beyond them all. Annamaya kosha is the outer vehicle, and it means the physical body, the shell of food and earth, sustained by nourishment, movement, and touch. When awareness enters here, the body becomes a temple. Then we get more to the inside, to the pranamaya kosha, the energy body. So the shell and or breath of breath and vitality. Every inhale carries prana. Every exhale releases resistance. Balancing this field is the key to emotional and mental stability. Manomaya kosha, the mind, emotion body. It's so funny that the mind and emotions are in the same body, right? Well, if I say that, it doesn't even sound crazy. So the shed of thoughts and feelings. Here the gunas dance most visibly. Rajas pushes, tamas dulls, sattva clears. Yoga quiets these layers so that the waves of the mind can reflect light instead of distortion. Vijnana Maya Kosha, the wisdom body. The shed of intuition and insight. It is the fire of discrimination. So Viveka, the inner teacher that begins to guide us. Here we start to witness rather than react, to choose clarity over impulse. And then we come to the subtle body, the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss or causal body. The most subtle real, not emotion, but a deep peace beyond polarity. So it is the fragrance of unity where individuality softens into wholeness. Yet even the bliss is still a shell, a reflection on something vaster. So now I will lead you through my own yogic path, how I came to this journey. And it started all with chaos. So that was the foundation and the basics. But just to be clear, for a really long time, all of that remained just knowledge for me. Beautiful concepts far, far away of how I was actually living. I really love this verse. It is from Rig Veda. Then there was neither being nor non-being. Darkness, hidden by darkness. All this was undifferentiated chaos. This verse has always touched me because I know that place. I know the place of chaos, the place of confusion, and of forgetting who I am. For a long time, I was moving internally in the outer world, chasing experiences, relationships, and reflections of myself in everything outside. I was fascinated, even hypnotized, the bright surfaces, the shining illusion of pleasure, success, and identity. They looked so beautiful and so real, but they blinded me. The more I searched for meaning outside, the more disconnected I became from my own inner life. And the deeper the separation grew, the more suffering started to speak. And it was not gentle, but it was the beginning of my awakening. The moment where pain turned into the teacher. Because suffering, when we stop running from it, has a strange way of revealing truth. It burns away what is false until only what is essential remains. And that is how yoga entered my life. Not as lifestyle or a discipline, but as lifeline back to myself. to practice, I began to see how these ancient principles, the gunas, the koshas, the movement on prana, were not just philosophy, but living forces inside me. Slowly, I began to understand my own patterns, the tamas that kept me heavy, the rajas that kept me restless, and the moments of sattva that felt like peace. Yeah, and from that moment on, yoga stopped being something I studied. It becomes to study me. Roots of suffering. Let's start with that. The kleshas. In yoga, suffering is not a punishment. It is the distortion of awareness. The ancient sages call these distortions kleshas, the roots of all inner conflicts. So when we understand them, we begin to see not only what hurts, but why it keeps repeating again and again and again. According to Patanjali, there are 5 kleshas, 5 patterns, the wheel of natural clarity. And when I start to look closely, I could see each one of them alive inside of me. So I will give you some reflections of the kleshas in my life. When I first learned about the kleshas, the roots, I realized that I didn't have to look for them in a book. They were already living inside of me. So avidya, the ignorance, was the forgetting of who I am. I was completely absorbed in the outer world, in movement, performance, intensity. I thought the more I did, the more I would become. The more I connected, the more I would be loved. But the truth is, I was constantly running away from myself. Asmita, the ego, was that voice that said, I am what I achieve, I am what others see, I was subtle, but it shaped everything. It was subtle. The way I worked, the way I loved, the way I breathed. Raja, attachment, was the endless desire for connection, especially in my relationships. I was chasing the feeling of being seen, trying to hold on to moments that were already gone. Dvesha, or the aversion, was the opposite side of the same story. When the pain came, I couldn't stay with it. I numbed it, I escaped it, ran into other worlds, into busyness, distraction, intoxication. Anything just not to feel. And abhinisvesha, the fear of loss, was what kept all of this alive. So that the deep resistance to letting go, even when a part of me already knew it was time to change, to shed, to breathe again. These patterns were not wrong, they were unconscious. So they were my prakriti in motion. Everything, energy moving without awareness. And this is where yoga began to work on me. It started to show me that every time I could stay present with what hurt or scared me, something subtle began to shift. So the same energy that created my suffering could also become the doorway to awareness if I stopped running and if I simply stayed. So this is the cycle of forgetfulness, from kleshas to samskaras. So the more that I start to see my kleshas, just to explain you this concept, and maybe you can apply it on your own samskaras and kleshas, it is really, really important. It was for me. The more I started to see my kleshas, the more I became aware of how alive they were inside me, right? Not as an idea, but as a movement of energy, repeating themselves again and again and again. So even if I thought I changed, I found myself in the same emotions, the same stories, the same energy, just wearing a different faces, places. And then I began to understand what the ancient teachings mean when they speak of samskaras and vasanas. Each experience leaves a trace. not only in memory, but in the subtle fabric of our being. These traces are called samskaras, impressions stored as energetic memories in the body, in the breath, and in the mind. Every reaction, every attachment, every emotion leaves behind a vibration. So some dissolve quickly, others stay for years, quietly shaping the way we feel, see, and act. And when these impressions remain unintegrated, they give birth to vasanas. So the tendencies, the unconscious drives, the momentum to repeat what is familiar. That's why the same energies keep returning through different people, in different times, with new faces, but always the same frequency. It's not that we fail to change, it is that the energy keeps asking to be seen. So yoga calls this cycle of forgetfulness. Kleshas creates a samskara, the samskara grows into vasana, the vasanas drive action, and the action plants another samskara. The loop continues until awareness steps in. And that's the work. Not to fight the pattern, but to witness it, to bring it into light. Because when we see clearly, the pattern begins to dissolve. So the energy that was bound in repetition returns to its source, the consciousness itself. So, recognizing my vasana, samskaras, and kleshas, a desire as awakening started to arise. Something subtle began to shift. So when the patterns become visible, when I could finally see the energy that had been repeating for so long, something inside of me wanted to change. So the Rig Veda describes this moment beautifully. Then desire rose in that one, the first seed of mind. This desire is not personal, it's the pulse of consciousness awakening within itself. So the same energy that once created confusion now begins to move towards clarity. That movement from density to awareness, from repetition to realization, is the beginning of yoga. Kama, the desire for truth, becomes prana, the force that carries it. And yoga gives us the tool to guide that force to turn energy into awareness. So what are these tools? The sages describe them as 4 main paths. 4 ways in which consciousness moves back towards itself. We have karma yoga, the path of action, where every movement becomes an offering. We have bhakti yoga, the path of devotion, where love dissolves the sense of separation. We have Raja Yoga, the path of meditation, where stillness refines the mind into clarity. And we have Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom, where insight reveals what has always been true. Each of these is a doorway. They meet in the same center, again, in the awareness itself. So the first practice that came to me was Hatha Yoga. It was working with the body. It was working with the breath, but also working with the energy. First, I could, of course, not feel the subtle movements of energy in my body that came with the time. But through movement, through posture, through breath, I was clearing my vehicle, preparing it for awareness. In Hatha Yoga, we purify the channels of energy, the nadis, through asana, postures, to pranayama, breathing exercises, bandhas, and mudra. So the hand gestures and energetical locks. The purpose is not flexibility or form, it is balance, stability. The merging of Ha, Sun, and the Moon, Ta, the solar and lunar currents, the union, effort, and surrender. Slowly I began to feel how every breath could refine the mind. But after some time, I realized that it was not, that it was only the beginning. The body was clear, but the mind was still noisy. That's when the path of Raja Yoga began to open for me, the movement from energy into stillness. So if Hatha Yoga works with the body and the breath, Raja Yoga works with the mind. It is the yoga of consciousness itself. It was here that I began to understand that awareness can turn inward. So that consciousness can begin to reflect itself. Patanjali called this the science of the mind. So yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. When the mind becomes quiet, awareness shines through naturally. Not something we create, but something that reveals itself. The body prepares the ground, the breath balances the energy, and now consciousness begins to witness itself. This is the essence of Raja Yoga, the royal path, where movement dissolves into silence and silence begins to speak. Patanjali gives us tools, the 8 steps to refine consciousness and to dissolve the imprints that keeps us bound. The first one was yama, the foundation of integrity. The first step purifies our actions. Non-harming, truthfulness, non-stealing, right use of energy, and non-grasping. They are not rules, they are harmonies. When we live in alignment, prana flows freely. Second one, niyama, the art of inner cultivation. The second step purifies our intentions. Purity, contentment, discipline, self-study, and surrender to the divine. These are the inner flames that refine us, turning friction into light and life. Asana, the stillness in movement. Beyond flexibility, it is steadiness. When the body becomes balanced and open, it stops pulling the mind outward. The posture becomes a vessel where energy can settle, rise, and align. Pranayama, the refinement of energy. Breath becomes the bridge between body and mind. By directing the flow of prana, we dissolve agitation and awaken subtle perception. Each inhale is creation, each exhale, surrender. Pratyahara, the return of the senses. The senses no longer chase the outer world. They rest in their source. It's not withdrawal, it's recollection. It's gathering of scattered energy back into the heart. Dharana, one-pointed awareness. Attention becomes steady. Like a flame sheltered from the wind, the mind learns to rest not by suppression, but by its presence. Dhyana, meditation. When concentration flows effortlessly, meditation begins. Awareness expands beyond the object and observer, a quiet witnessing without borders. And 8, the samadhi or absorption. The final step is not an achievement, it is a remembrance. When all waves settle, consciousness merges within itself. Nothing new appears, what remains is what has always been. So these 8 tools, movement dissolves into stillness, and stillness reveals the internal witness within. So over time, the outer techniques become an inner movement. reflection instead of reaction, breath instead of control, stillness instead of striving. So through Svadhyaya, the self-study, I began to observe my own inner codes. My thoughts, my emotion, the patterns inherited and repeated. Repeated awareness become okay. So through abhyasa, continuous practice, I learned to return again and again. Through vairagya, letting go, I learned to release identification with the pattern. And through dhyana, meditation, I began to rest in that space. So that's when I learned the mantra meditation. It was not a technique, but as a return to a vibration itself. It expanded my way of being. My consciousness started to develop itself wherever I was. So since I don't have that much minutes left anymore, good. I will go to the integration and how Tantra actually, or how this awareness came in every step that I take. So it brings together the outer and the inner principles, and you just find the yoga with everything, or the awareness with everything that you do. When awareness is woven into daily actions, the mind then becomes mystical. And this is the heart of my practice, actually. So I will just go quickly through it. So yoga is not what we do, it is how we live. And so I started to do yoga snacks to expand this consciousness. So if you don't have like that much time in your life to meditate, like 2 times, 20 minutes a day, and to be on the mat for 1.5 or 2 hours, you can also like plant the seeds with really small gestures of being, right? So how to live this sattva and how to invite this clear harmony into your life is through your body with clean food, rhythmic sleep, gentle movement, through breath, deep, even conscious breathing, through mind, truthful speech, mantra, silence, study of the self, through heart, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude, and through environment, natural light, fresh air, harmonious spaces. Okay, so as I said, you can really bring consciousness in everything that you're doing, like smoking, don't reject it, slow down, feel the inhale, the warmth, the exhale, drinking, eating, also feel the warmth, pause between the sips, chew slowly, feel texture, smell color, notice how food becomes you. Gardening or working, feel soil, breath, offer your moment, feel your breath by working, take pauses to notice your posture, hands, your heartbeat, etc., etc. Also during the driving, during the metro ride. If you need some tips, we can talk about it later. This is a really good one. It's about the conflict. So even like in that conflict, you can pause. You can feel the heat in your body, the breath, rhythm, the urge to react. Soften the exhale before speaking. Observe energy instead of projecting it. So transforming emotional fire into awareness. Yeah, and so there are actually, especially in Tantra, there are a lot of small gestures that you can repeat in your daily life, bringing this awareness to everything that you do. Brahmari, 4-8 breath, really important, where you really calm your nervous system and activate your parasympathetic one. And a short excursion to that, from form to source. Now I would like to see what I was writing about it. So every practice in yoga in a way, is a rehearsal for dying. With every breath, we practice of letting go, of tension, of story, of form, whatever. In each exhale, something dies. An old thought, a habit, an identity. And in each pause between breaths, awareness shines naked. So untouched, unbroken, and eternal. To die consciously is to witness the dissolving of form without fear. To recognize that we truly are, has never been born and can never die. So the body, the emotions, the mind, they are waves on the ocean of being. Yoga teaches us to surf these waves with grace and to return again and again to the still depth beneath. And this is like continuing things, continuity from the verse I was saying before, from Rig Veda. He from whom this creation arose. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Where he made it or did not, he who looks down on it in the highest heaven, only he knows, or perhaps he does not. So in the same silence, after the last breath, the same wonder remains. The one who began as chaos, return again to itself, aware or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this wonderful talk on yoga. Any questions? Okay, we have one here.
No, thank you. I really appreciate this introspective presentation. I can tell you, in my spiritual life for 4 decades, it's a issue that many of us try to avoid, to do this introspection, and we try to avoid, and there is like artificial presentation of ourself, and which is not healthy at all for the mind, for the emotion, for even spirituality, of course. So I really appreciate your presentation, and I'm surprised that you are so introspective. Very good, excellent. So I have a question. You spoke about Kundalini. Kundalini is, you explained that it's like a snake or serpent. And then I didn't understand, the serpent can be awakened.
Yes, through awareness and through, like when you clear your body through hatha yoga, and to not to flow into the left or the right nadi. So when everything is flowing like straight to Sushumna, you can awaken it. It's just like the awareness. So it's the awareness of the energy itself. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know who thinks that the Kundalini is awakened here from you guys. It is? No? Yeah, me neither. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely more aware than I was a year ago. So through concert practice, you just become more in here and now, and that's the main thing, that the moment now, or as you said, like this time that we are here, just become more, so it's becomes rich, it becomes richer.
Okay, we have one more question here.
Actually, I do not have question, but just I realized this very moment that instead of physical training in every secondary school, we should teach children yoga.
Yes,
that would be
absolutely
something. I mean, physical training is nothing; just
absolutely
walking around. That's what I realized during your lecture.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Yay.
Okay, thank you so much. A big round of applause for Thea for this wonderful talk. And I would like to request you to stay for a moment. We have a memento for you, and I would like to invite. Thea, we have a memento for you that we'd like to present? Yes. So you can open it here. Like this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.